Good to have you join me on the program from the National Assembly. I am Georgina Ndukwe-Ezeanyika, bringing you up to speed with activities of lawmakers in Nigeria's parliament. Stay tuned for details. Welcome back. Now let's dive right in. The death of former Oyo State Governor Abiola Ajimobi hit Nigeria's political space really hard. The President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, expressed his grief over the death of the former Oyo State Governor. He said that Ajimobi once represented Oyo South Senatorial District in the Senate before he was elected to 2 consecutive terms as governor. He will be missed by the people of Oyo State and the Progressives political party throughout Nigeria. The Senate President said Oyo State will always remember him for his numerous achievements over which the people rewarded him as the first governor to be re-elected in the history of the politically sophisticated state. Lawan said his death will also be felt by the ruling All Progressives Congress, especially at the time the party is calling for all hands to be on deck to steady its sail. Now, the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Ndukwe-Ezeanyika, also condoled with the government and people of Oyo State over the demise of the immediate past governor of the state, Senator Abiola Ajimobi. Ndukwe-Ezeanyika noted in a statement signed by his special advisor, media and publicity, Yomi Odonuga, that late Ajimobi would be remembered for his patriotism and passionate commitment to delivering the dividends of democracy to his people. While expressing shock and sadness over the unfortunate incident, Senator Ndukwe-Ezeanyika said the All Progressives Congress chieftain left at a time his experience as an astute administrator would be needed the most, while extending his condolence to the government and people of the state and praying to God to grant his soul eternal rest. The Deputy President of the Senate called on Nigerians to remember his family in their prayers at this trying moment. The Deputy President of the Senate, Ndukwe-Ezeanyika, has said that the leadership of the National Assembly may consider holding plenary sessions virtually. He stated this shortly after the Senate adjourned plenary in honor of another late Lagos Senator, Bayo Osinowo, who recently died of COVID-19 complications. Here's the report.
He is the 4th senator to die in the 9th Senate since its inauguration a year ago. Senator Bayo Osinowo was the lawmaker representing Lagos East in the National Assembly. As is the tradition, members of the Senate trooped out after adjourning plenary to sign a condolence register in his honor. The Deputy President of the Senate, Ndukwe-Ezeanyika, after signing the register, told journalists that his contributions on the floor of the Senate will be missed. He muted the idea of having virtual Senate proceedings during plenary.
If you look at the interpretation section of the 318 of the Constitution, I'm not sure that it was envisaged that the time will come where plenary itself, will go virtual. But this life is dynamic, and we're taking a look at it. The possibility does exist that we'll sit down under the leadership of Senator Ahmed Lawan and the leadership, and we'll take a decision at some point whether we may need to go virtual during plenary.
Other lawmakers speak on how much Senator Osinowo will be missed. Some advised their colleagues to adhere to the safety measures to avoid getting infected.
It's somebody that is very close to so many of us, including me. So clearly it's like a personal loss, and it's a loss to all of us in Lagos State particularly, where he plays politics, and to all of us here in the Senate as well.
Our colleague has gone. We sympathize with the family. We are not happy that he's leaving us at this stage. But then, on the floor of the Senate, he has been very, very eloquent, very articulate, and a patriotic Nigerian that had the welfare and interests of Nigeria at heart.
The Senate is expected to hold a valedictory session in honor of the late lawmaker on Wednesday.
Welcome back. The issue of insufficient power supply has been a problem for Nigeria for several years. In a bid to find solutions, the Senate Committee on Power embarked on an investigative hearing. The committee is accusing the Transmission Company of Nigeria of partly being responsible for the country's problem. Now, the TCN was accused at the close of an investigative hearing organized by the Committee on Power to get to the root of Nigeria's power crisis with a view to addressing them.
This is the 3rd session of the investigative hearing of the Senate Committee on Power. The committee wants to find out the reason for Nigeria's poor electricity supply in spite of the huge funds sunk into the sector. At this hearing, a representative of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, Edmond Eje, is blaming power distribution and generating companies as well as the Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trading Company of being responsible for Nigeria's woes.
Some discos do what we call asset stripping. This asset stripping means they will not use the whole of the network to receive the power we're talking about. And by the time they distribute the energy collected over their overhead, and now we discover that they are running at a loss. And that's virtual loss. Virtual loss in the sense that you have not used all your capex. You have used a fraction of it, but you want to have 100% return.
It might now be necessary for the power sector to be self-sustaining in order to address the problem.
When they took over, it became a different thing altogether. And that's what translates to this figure we are seeing today. Everybody's action encourages disco performance while persuading the government to subsidize inefficiency in the market.
However, the committee sees through TCN's bias and does not completely agree with the company's diagnosis of Nigeria's power problems.
Most of the monies that are paid went to gas suppliers and to GENCOs. Have they ramped up their generation as encapsulated in the performance agreement that they signed with BP? Of course, no. This is the presentation from BP. You are supposed to know that.
Sadly, the crisis is now scaring away investors willing to invest in the sector.
Our investors are losing confidence in us, and new ones are afraid of touching us.
In weeks to come, Nigerians will wait to see if this investigation will impact positively on the level of electricity being supplied nationwide.
Well, the leadership of the National Assembly has waded into the controversy on the planned hike in electricity tariffs from the 1st of July 2020 and has succeeded in convincing the distribution companies, DISCOs, to defer the plan till the first quarter of 2021. The President of the Senate, Senator Ahmed Lawan, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, and other principal officers of the two chambers met at the National Assembly with the chief executives of the government electricity regulatory body and DISCOs across the country. The National Assembly leaders were emphatic at the meeting that the timing of the planned hike was wrong, even though they had not much issue with the need to introduce a cost-reflective tariff for the power sector to attract the much-needed investment. In the course of the meeting, the DISCOs too admitted that they were not well prepared for the planned hike in the tariffs, even though they feel that it's much desired. Anyway, respite might soon come the way of Nigerians who have endured several years of erratic power supply. Now, this is as the federal government has promised to work with the National Assembly and stakeholders in the power sector to improve the quality of electricity distributed to consumers before any increase in tariffs can be effected. The Chairman Senate Committee on Power, Senator Gabriel Suswam, told journalists that the government is looking at ways to make the sector more effective and self-sustaining. Though the use of renewable energy is still not common in Nigeria, there are, however, several ongoing projects to provide solar energy to rural communities, markets and tertiary institutions, especially those not connected to the national grid. The distribution companies, DISCOs, had fixed the 1st of July 2020 to hike the cost of electricity tariff nationwide. Now, this means that Nigerians would have had to pay more for the electricity they do not consume.
Because of our circumstances and because of COVID, government across the world, you know, that are giving palliatives. Now, Nigerians are heavily burdened because of the COVID. The economy, as you know, has contracted. I saw it by 3.2%. That's a lot. And so it makes you and me unable to attend to some of our social problems. And so the government prefer to add more burden or lessen it? So I think the executive, the government, the president has been doing well. He has paid so much money. And what we expect is that will gradually reduce or diminishes as the power sector become more efficient. So two things. One is to make it efficient, and then the government to back out, just like they've done in the oil sector, where subsidy has been completely removed.
Now let's take a short break. We'll be right back with more stories from the National Assembly. Now, in an interactive session with the Joint National Committee on Labour with the Minister of State for Labour, Festus Keyamo, ended on a dramatic note as the minister and lawmakers engaged in a shouting match over areas of conflict. The whole controversy was on the 52 billion naira budgeted for the recruitment of 774,000 Nigerians under the NDE, which the committee seems unconvinced that it is in control of. Mr. Keyamo had alleged that some senators were out to hijack the entire exercise with a counter-accusation aimed at the minister. Now, the issue of the allegation leveled against the Senate committee prompted it to call for an apology.
From this side, I want to move. I don't know who start apologize to this city. He has been once apologized by directing us, and that apology to do it will know the appropriate executive transition. Because started by I want Nigerian people. You know, we are representing Nigerian people. We are not hiding anything. So you need to apologize.
At the close of the heated session, both committee and minister clarified on contending issues.
So that he's saying it, if he's a fool, you that you are listening should not be a fool. The Director General of NDE is here. Yesterday, he inaugurated 20-man committee. And the NDE man said he's only aware of 8 people. But 20 people have been inaugurated. How did he come about the remaining 12? Sorry. Maybe those people, those remaining 12 are his business associate. Do you think we allow that?
I have not finished. Sorry, why do we need 20 committee selection? He himself contradicted himself. That's what we want you to see in the public. He said this program is about laborers, and now they are putting in there market women. They are putting in there ASU. Will any you tell? Are you picking people from the garage? Are garage people laborers? Those ones are engaged.
ASU who's supposed to be busy? ASU is supposed to be in class.
Is ASU do they know laborers? Nobody here ever said camera should go. Did we? Nobody. No, I said from here. Did we say
you were here now? Did we say you should go?
Did we say you should go?
It's because you want to bring confusion.
There are about 10 to 15% reserved for them. Yes, I've said it openly. So what do they need more than that? But the point is that they want to control the program. They want to control it, and I've said no. Except Mr. President says I should leave it. I will leave it. But they cannot control the program. I repeat, they cannot control the program. They cannot.
But they can investigate it.
They can investigate it. And I'm ready to be coming here every day to explain what I have done. But they cannot control the program.
Why did you not apologize to them?
Because I did not say. You were out there. You were out there. Did I say this derogatory? I only insisted the cameras must be there. There's nothing to apologize for that because the Constitution says expose corruption. You can't expose corruption behind the public.
Thank you so much.
What I said is constitutional. What I said is constitutional. They say there are powers to expose. You can't expose in camera. That is behind closed doors. You must say it before the members of the public. Okay. I am more for more transparency. They are saying they should close door. And they say I should apologize for that. No.
Well, the National Assembly had in the 2020 budget appropriated the sum of 52 billion naira for the Special Public Works Program aimed at employing 774,000 citizens, 1,000 from each of the 774 local government areas in the country, who will earn 20,000 naira monthly for 3 months. The President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has tasked the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, to consider widening the tax net rather than overburdening the people and business concerns. Senator Lawan was guest speaker at the inauguration of the Interministerial Committee on the Audit and Recovery of Back Year's Stamp Duties and FIRS formal launch of adhesive stamp for stamp duties collection in Nigeria. Now, according to the statement issued by the Special Advisor Media to the Senate President, Ola Awuni, Senator Lawan said there are many people who are supposed to pay taxes but are not captured in the tax net. The Senate President said the Senate is aware of the various challenges against efforts of the FIRS to rejig tax administration in the country, especially the global challenge posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. And also, the President of the Senate has charged the Inspector General of Police to provide timelines for the implementation of community policing in the country. He gave the charge when the Police Inspector General Mohammed Adamu and his management team called at the National Assembly for an interactive session with the Senate Committee on Police Affairs. The Senate President told Adamu and his team to come up with milestones and timelines, template for the implementation of community policing in the country. Now, the Senate President told the police authorities to always carry the relevant parliamentary committees along in what they are doing on the community policing to give the scheme a life of its own. He says that there will be need to recruit more men and women to shore up the present number that is inadequate for the present security challenges. Welcome back. Now, between 1999 and 2007, President Olusegun Obasanjo focused on the reform of the electricity sector as one of the major priorities of his administration. Gas power plants were set up across the country under his watch, turbines and other equipment imported. His government laid the foundation for reform in the power sector but could not complete the process, particularly the privatization of the power sector. Now, the Chairman, Senate Committee on Power, Gabriel Susam, addressed journalists on the resolution of the Executive, the National Assembly and stakeholders in the power sector to suspend the planned hike on electricity tariff. Here's what he had to say.
When these entities were privatized, the essence of privatization was to create efficiency in power delivery to Nigerians. Unfortunately, the privatization in itself was hastily done, and so there were issues that were not attended to at that time. Those are the issues that are propping up now and creating problems. What you said is correct. If the people who took over these entities were able to attend to the infrastructural deficit, what you said would not have happened. And that is why we're having some of this problem. And that is why I think that the government have put in place, nothing yet has started manifesting yet, but they've put in place these actions. For instance, the Siemens D, though not yet signed, but there's an understanding between government to government to now enhance those infrastructures. So, of course, when that is done, this complaint you are raising here would not arise, because they would have attended to the infrastructures in areas that need them. And then the transmission itself will be able to weigh much more capacity. The wheeling capacity is also a problem. And then the absorption capacity of the discos is also a problem. And then the generation itself is a problem because power cannot be evacuated. So while we have installed capacity of 13,000, only about between 3,500 and 4,000 can be weighed. And so these are all very fundamental issues. So it's not an issue that you can lay on the door of one sector of the power chain. It is an all-encompassing problem, and we, as legislators, are very concerned, and we are very supportive of the executive for them to address this. So that is why you see, especially in the Senate, we had a roundtable, and now I've just completed the investigative power hearing, which has revealed a lot of things and things that we need to do, especially in the alignment of the value chain of the power sector. Nowhere in the world that power is not subsidized, especially in developing economies. If we look at, I've looked at Mexico, I've looked at India, I've looked at Egypt, South Africa, and all of that. In all these places, power is subsidized by government to some extent because there are genuine people who, because of their income, are unable to pay the cost, what they call cost reflective tariff. That is the actual cost of producing power. And so in this case, because of our circumstances and because of COVID, government across the world, you know, that are giving palliatives. Now, Nigerians are heavily burdened because of the COVID. The economy, as you know, has contracted. I saw it by 3.2%. That's a lot. And so it makes you and me unable to attend to some of our social problems. And so the government prefer to add more burden or lessen it? So I think the executive, the government, the president has been doing well. He has paid so much money, and what we expect is that will gradually reduce or diminishes as the power sector become more efficient. So 2 things. One is to make it efficient, and then the government to back out, just like they've done in the oil sector, where subsidy has been completely removed. But even at that, you see, the government is reducing the pump price. So should they, in the same vein, increase tariff? It doesn't make sense. So I think the executive will agree, even though it's going to come at a cost. But what cost is more than lessening the burden on your people? The essence of creating the Department of Rural Electrification, or parastatal, is to address many renewable energy issues. And that is what is happening, because if we go to China, they say that they have attended about 98% access to power. It is not the grid. It is basically renewable energy. And most countries like India, they are into renewable energy. But renewable energy cannot provide enough power for you to engage in industrialization. It is just to those who are underserved. Like here now, in the National Assembly, if we look at the budget, most members of the National Assembly have made provisions for solar lights, mini grid, isolated mini grid on solar. That means that if you have a village of 200 households, you can have a mini grid, they can have 24/7 light. So those measures have been taken, but it's not yet something that is very common here. Because first, the technology of it, we need to get people who are trained technically to be servicing them. But rural electrification is on top of that, and there's even the World Bank is giving a lot of support for this rural electrification. You know that the government has initiated providing these federal universities with light, and they started with Kano. In fact, Kano has been activated. I know of University of Agriculture, Makudi, is ongoing. I think about 7 of them. That program is ongoing. There is also provisions of power to markets. Ibadan is enjoying that. There's a market, what is it called? There's a market in Ibadan that is enjoying 24/7 light using solar light. So that is on the table as well.
And that's our package for today. Thank you so much for watching. Join us next week for another edition of the program from the National Assembly. I am Georgina Ndukwe-Ezeanyika. Stay safe and bye for now.